Hey guys, this is Bonfrey from L World. You're watching FoE Advance. Thanks for checking this out. Today, I wanted to talk about a MicroStrategy that I picked up along the way, and thanks to a couple of the higher level players in this world, showed me how they were dealing with FP banking and kind of a spin on swaps to convert your daily collection or a good amount of your daily collection into bankable FP. So if you are watching this video, you're probably familiar with standard swaps in a guild like 50 FP, 100 FP, 5 FP, stuff like that. You also have your investment swaps, right? So you probably have a 180 or a 185 or a 190. And in my case, I'm in a higher arc swap, investment, which is a 195 group. But in this case, it's all just math and percentages and things like that. But if you spend any time in a regular guild swap, just your average swap, you may end up with 20 people or 15 people on your GB at various point levels before that thing flips. It takes time. The owner's not really priming it. They're just waiting on this back and forth, and it's frustratingly long. And then you get sniped, if not by one of your guild mates, by someone like me from the outside who sees an opportunity to make some FP for my bank. And that's how it goes. So the two main ways I bank FP are through sniping, but what I do is I snipe people that I find in my neighborhood that are cool with, like, it's like basically I'm loaning them FP, and they don't really see it as a snipe, because what I look for is when I see someone that primes their GB a certain way, I can tell that's they want someone to invest, right? So I picked this out in particular. So this Cape Canaveral, it's a high level, pretty good high level. It's 58. So I can quickly look at this and see that this player has basically primed it to this kind of signals that I want, that he's ready for people to put some FP on this. So by the fact that I have a higher level arc, I'm in a more profitable position, which is great. This guy is making some profit here, but I contribute FP to this guy's great buildings all the time, like almost daily. And there's no upset. It's not like, oh, you need to put 190 or whatever. It's just we'll just do our thing. And if I snipe somebody and they complain about it, I'll generally talk to them and say, hey, what's your deal? Are you looking for people to kind of help you out, or are you in a swap where you're not expecting outsiders to be able to access your building? Because if that's what you're expecting, you need to lock your building and not leave it accessible for anyone else to come along, and snipe. So in this case, if I just do some quick math, I'm going to be in a position to bank some FP now, right? Because I'm going to take my reward. So in my case, I'm going to add 415. I'm sorry, I don't even know how to worry about that. Well, I might worry about this, but I do a lot of this in my head. So all I have to do is just take these two, and divide them. So 29, 51. There's tools out there to use. I use some tools, but this video isn't about those tools. So that leaves a remainder of 1432 FP divided by 2, and there's my lock. So if I put in 716 FP, which I'm going to go ahead and do because I know it's a rad ROI, then I'm going to make the difference between that and the reward, which is, I can just math in my head. I'm at like over 800 FP, right, is what I'm going to get back. So making 75 FP on that snipe, that goes right into my bank. And so you can't beat that, right? And it just keeps going and going, and I just cycle and cycle. But let's get back to this swap strategy that was taught to me by some really cool folks, and explain exactly what's going on here, because this is not your everyday swap. But if you just look at this, you're going to see that there's sorry about that. There's someone on 1 and 2 that are basically 1 FP apart, right? And that's the way I set this up. So my trade partner, my swap partner here in this case was a guildie who what we agreed was that we would contribute 600 FP a day from our collection to each other's building. So we said, okay, let's both work on our AOs. And it was easier to keep track of stuff if we both chose the same building. So our AOs were fairly similar in size and stuff. You can do this with someone that has a different building and a lower level building. It's just that you may find yourself having to keep a little more track of what you're putting in, right? But so what we would do is send messages to each other. It's like, okay, confirmed, 600 FP for today, and then we would account for everything at 1 week at a time. So basically, we did it on a Monday to Tuesday time frame. So we start on Tuesday morning, and then the last accounting we took was Monday night. So if all went well, we decided that in this case with my AO at level 95, we could have had gone for first to lock that up, but we decided that what you want to look for on a daily FP contribution is to, of course, as quickly as you can, convert your income FP that you take from your city and your collections or from awards and stuff that you win, to put that into an investment. You're at least going to get something back. Okay, now I think some people might not, a lot of people argue against this system until they understand it. So I'm trying to explain it the best way I can. But basically what we did here is, if you look at what his ARC return is going to be, it's, almost double of 895, right? So it's going to be like about 1,700 and something FP he's going to get back once this building pops. So by putting 6 days or less worth of his daily collection on here, in a week, he's going to get half that back, and it's going to go right into his bank. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It's like amazing. You're just like using your because if you look at the other side of that math, if you're priming GBs, you're going to spend your daily collection priming your GBs for flipping them, with some 190s or some 185s, and it doesn't always, translate the same way, because now you're spending money either out of your daily income to do that or out of your bank. So sometimes you need to build up that bank. Like, I didn't snipe for the first couple of years I played this game, and then I was like, well, I need to start sniping and making some more FP. So I started with a bank of 8,000 FP that I built up doing things similar to this, and then I just kept sniping, and I would only risk about half of my FP at a time. So when I started out with 8,000, I would put 4,000 out in snipes. At this point, I've got 114,000 FP in my bank, and I mean, now it just keeps going, because like there's only so much sniping you can do in a day. There's only so many opportunities. So I might be able to dump 20,000 of this out there at any given time on snipes, but it just kind of keeps going. So, I've built this up from 8,000, but I've also flipped this, many, many, many times, right? So that number is just where I'm at right now. And I've spent, hundreds of thousands of FP, building up my city. So anyway, these high level swaps really help. So once we saw that this, we want to make sure, if say Wickler was the only contributor to this GB for a while, it wasn't at risk of getting sniped until you get to a certain point. And once we start getting to that point, then we have another investor come in at, 190 or 195, whatever we've agreed on. And then, he makes sure he's in second place, and then, he gets half of his FP back, more or less. So this is a very powerful way to build a bank very quickly. And it doesn't have to be big numbers like this. If your daily collection is 110 FP, you can decide, okay, I'm going to spend 75 a day with a swap partner, or, whatever that other person can tolerate. And whether they're in your guild or not in your guild, whatever, you just need to watch out that you're not setting your GBs up for sniping, so that it messes up your whole plan and stuff like that. So anyway, that's pretty much all I have for this MicroStrategy today. I hope this has been helpful. I know there wasn't a lot of action to see, but this game is very math driven. It's very important that you understand the math aspect of the game and how the ARC plays into that, and like maybe doing these swaps this other way, because it's a guarantee of getting about half, or less, depending on the level of your ARC, of your investment back, as soon as, and now you're leveling, a GB you want to work on, you're leveling it at least once a week, but on a lower level GB, maybe even twice a week. So anyway, I hope this is helpful and that this gives you some things to think about. And if you have questions, please submit them. I basically built this video because one of the viewers commented like, hey, have you done a video on how to do an FP bank? And so here we are. Anyway, if you have any other ideas, I know there's other ways to bank. I just wanted to talk about these two ways because that's mainly the way I roll. But if you have other cool ideas, feel free to let us know. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Subscribe and comment, whatever. Talk to you later.